Have you ever wondered if you've lived before or will live again? Are you curious about what happens after you die? Maybe you have met someone you're sure you've known before, or maybe you're wondering if you have talents, skills, or experiences from a prior life that could help you now. Hi, I'm Brownell Landrum, author of The End, A Love Story to the Universe, and the We Meet Again trilogy, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life is a Trip podcast. The following story, Enduring Love, was written by Lindsay Stanton. Lindsay was inspired and guided to write the story to help others on their journey. Enjoy!
Could you trust in the depths of love even in the face of unimaginable fear? Hi, I'm Lindsay Stanton. This is my story, my truth. The stories I'm about to share are excerpts from my book, The Enduring and Everlasting. Our story, my story, is a story of love, proof that love and death is an illusion, only of our physical body, not our soul. These are our memories and stories of how our love, my soulmate and I together, transcended grief, dimensions, fear, and space to remain connected. I hope our story opens your heart and mind, but mostly your heart, to all the amazing possibilities and gifts that are out there just waiting for you to receive them. I admit I've been incredibly blessed. Long before Roger, the love of my life, my twin flame, became ill, I was a recipient of his amazing love, unconditional, pure love. I would often joke that Roger was my number one fan. He was, he is. All who knew us in business, personally, or even those we encountered briefly would comment about the amazing connection between us. Our connection was so strong that looking back, I'm positive others literally felt the vibration of energy between us. I've heard many stories over the almost 20 years we were together physically of accolades, praise, and admiration Roger would bestow upon me even when I was present. I feel to properly set the stage, I should start with the story of how we met. I will try and tell this story as best as I can. Sharing the story was Roger's favorite, and he told it so eloquently. I hope I can paint the beautiful picture with words, as he often so painted it, for those who would listen. The interview. In early summer, right before 4th of July, late 2001, I had sent my resume and cover letter for an open sales position at a local sports promotion company, Game Time Promotions. Roger built the company after years of experience at the likes of P&G, Wilson Sporting Goods, heading up their pro golf division, and Reebok. He had created a fun company that married the promotional industry with sporting goods and well-recognized professional athletes. He already had an impressive roster of athletes he was licensed with. He had a small office and warehouse in the same town I lived in. At the time, I was working full-time, plus getting my master's degree in the city at night. I was scheduled to interview for the role right before heading into Chicago for class. I arrived at the office and find myself accidentally ringing the doorbell of the warehouse instead of the front office entrance. Every time Roger told this story, he would take ownership for giving me bad directions. Truth be told, I'm not sure that was the case. He would always say when I rang the doorbell of the warehouse he was expecting the UPS driver, and with such joyful expression he would say how happy he was to open the door and see me instead. Walking in, I passed huge shelf after huge shelf of inventory for the business, all these unique products waiting to get boxed and sent out to fill customer orders. I followed Roger from the warehouse to the front offices. He expressed to me many times over the years, as soon as he opened the warehouse door, he thought immediately to himself, "This is the girl of my dreams," and it all has passed me by. He told how the simple walk from the warehouse where all the merchandise was stacked up to his private office for the interview, he was thinking this deep and sincere thought. "This is the girl I've always dreamt I would be with. The girl I've dreamt of since I was a little boy, and the opportunity has passed me by." 2001 was a very challenging season in Roger's life. He abruptly lost two of his closest friends, his friend Tony, who was a highly decorated Vietnam veteran, a true war hero, his friend Nick, who was an icon in the music industry working for Warner Music, signing the likes of Prince. Both were his golf buddies he spoke to pretty much daily. He spoke so fondly of them, always saying Tony was the guy he wanted in his foxhole if shit went down, and Nick was the friend who always made him laugh, albeit sometimes unintentionally at his golf game. As if it was not enough heartache and trauma, Roger's dad had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. He was facing such disruption, loss, and change in his life. And now, when I walked in the wrong door, he was faced all of a sudden with what could have been. I'm convinced from hearing him tell the story so many beautiful times he knew. He knew the minute we met, we had a deep soul connection. He knew our souls recognized each other, were drawn together, and that this was what should be, not only what could be, but what the universe had planned for our souls. Many lifetimes before, a deep knowing, instant recognition. He chronicled it in letters to me when we were dating, this deep sense of love at first sight. It was instant, snap of the fingers, done. There was a visceral feeling of belonging and need to be together. He always could recount every detail of that afternoon, every detail of what I was wearing, what was said, and his deepest thoughts. We had a great conversation about the business and his objectives for growth, what stores he wanted to sell the product into, the athletes he worked with, where he wanted to take the company. I shared my thoughts on what I viewed as new opportunities and the ways I thought I could contribute. There was a natural ease to the conversation, certainly not consistent with your average interview. We both took complete comfort with each other instantly. We shared a few of our hobbies, running and fitness mostly, and it became clear we were both pretty much type A personalities. He shared an amusing anecdote about the fact that he never used the large PC behind him at the desk. This was really for his assistant. Then, as we were in this state of complete comfort, like we'd known each other for years and were in lockstep, he started to ask about my long-term career goals. Where did I see myself in, say, 5 years? What was my career plan? Without pause or hesitation, before I could respond or answer his question, he said, "Because I'm worried I could fall in love with you and you'll move on." The question/statement rolled through my mind over and over the entire train ride to school, then the entire train ride home that night. And we did. We did fall in love immediately. It was as if we both recognized on some level, not necessarily consciously, that this was our opportunity. The universe had placed us uniquely in the right time and space for this amazing opportunity, and we never looked back. On paper, most would think it would be the hardest or most difficult time to start a new relationship, but we just flowed. For the outside world, we gave the impression, or at least we thought we did, of slowness, taking it in stride. But for us, truly, it was 160 miles an hour down an open highway with clear roads ahead as far as the eye could see. Roger's love has always been the deepest, truest love I've ever felt. Like this depth of knowing you're always safe, always in the light, always coveted, always protected. Unlike any other experience or relationship during my single years, there was no question. There was no weighing of pros and cons, no thoughts of what we have in common versus our difference, no thought of will this work or was this a waste of time. No, this was completely different than any experience I'd had to date. But I guess when the person you start dating shows their complete vulnerability the first time you meet by recognizing and verbalizing their love for you, it's bound to be different. Years later, which of course I'll share later, I had a medium describe our connection perfectly. He said, "I get a very strong feeling of soulmate energy with you two, as if the minute you met, it was, oh, I don't need to ever talk to anyone else ever again." Exactly. 20 years later, Roger was diagnosed with ALS. Unfortunately, it was very fast-moving, and our lifetime of love in the physical world was cut short in October of 2020. He passed. I am forever thankful for all the love, adventure, and joys we had in this physical world. I'm eternally grateful that our journey did not end there. As you will hear in this next excerpt, we were able to have meaningful conversations about his transition to the spirit realm while he was in hospice. Promises. During those final weeks, days, moments in the physical, we repeatedly discussed and reaffirmed our intentions. Our intentions was that we are forever. We discussed Roger finding me after he transitioned. The final days of him being here in the physical, we affirmed this repeatedly. I would say to him, "Find me after. Promise you'll find me." He always affirmed the promise, once with a damn right. As I expressed so many times in this book as I write our story so far in this lifetime, Roger is and was a man of his word. I'm confident reflecting back on the early messages and signs communicated that these were his affirmations, not only that he was well, but he was making damn sure I knew quickly he would be making good on his commitment. Within the weeks of his physical passing, I started receiving messages and visits. My first dream visit was only a few weeks after he had passed. He was with me at our house. I was rubbing his shoulders and kissing him. I told him I loved him. There were other people around us, family, but I was the only one who saw him, the only one who knew he was there. I was just present with him, which is very interesting for so many reasons, but especially that was completely how I was and we were in his final time here in the physical world. I had visitations with him back-to-back multiple nights that week in October. There were important messages in them as well as connection. Sometimes you can audibly hear the messaging from the loved one, and sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night. It could be in the morning, but mine tended to be in the middle of the night, with a very important thought. My first visit I journaled was in October of 2020, October 27th. And then on 10/28, we had another visit together, and I woke up in the middle of the night with the message, the quote, "We are forever." The night after he visited, and I woke up to a text on my phone saying, "I love you," with a heart emoji. You will learn as I talk about our communication in this section of the book, my phone was and is a tool he has and does use frequently to communicate with me. This was the first of many messages I would get from him using my phone. At this point, I just was about to begin my work in Akashic Records. I had multiple experiences from October 27th through October 29th. Then I had my first session with my Akashic coach. As I mentioned previously, she'd never worked with anyone with the intent of specifically helping facilitate communication with somebody on the other side. The work was more of an overall healing in and of itself. And obviously, I don't know specifically what facilitated all my experiences, but I would say I recommend Akashic work with the right healer, as it is so beautiful. I do have a deep knowing Roger and I would have found pathways to build our language and communication system no matter what. I'm forever thankful for the fact that we set that intention. 10:29, early in the morning, I had my first session with my coach. She's based in the UK, so my sessions were always in the early morning. She guided the experience. Each session, you work your way through your chakras at the end of each journey. Obviously, especially early on, my heart chakra was in much need of care, and it was not unusual at all for me to be crying at the start of a session. I was so raw at this point. And when you set your intention for healing you want from the session, it can bring up a lot of emotion. Also, it was very important for me to share the experiences I had already been having on my own, especially since she would tap into my guides and angels to set up the stage for my sessions. When you're in a healing session, you drop into like a dream type meditative state, almost similar to a hypnotic state, at least it was for me. I really felt myself going through each guided experience. You feel each healing detail that you're carrying, and you can feel it through your guides. I would actually frequently feel Roger in the session with me as well, which made it even more beautiful, and I feel like the healing even deeper. Healing is such a phenomenal gateway to opening yourself up to the other side. Deep pain that exists from your past can hold you back in ways you don't even realize. You can actually hold on to it and have it manifest as physical pain as well. So back to my first session, I was coming out of the session, going back into feeling like I'm in the here and now, coming back into my physical body, if you will. The session was ending. I'm laying there still in a semi-meditative state, and I woke up and looked over and felt and see Roger looking at me, laying next to me with his gorgeous blue eyes staring at me with his head on the pillow next to me. I reached over to push his hair back, and we just looked at each other with complete love. So beautiful. So thankful for these brief moments. That phenomenal gift of a visit. The week of 11/5, I had visits with Roger about every night. Always that he'd come back to me. One of them, we were celebrating dancing. He had come back and we both were just looking so joyful. Several, and this happened over the following months as well, I would be the only one who even realized he was there. I was in the dream and I knew we had this special bond, this magic where he was present with me and it was just for us. Another element that came up that week was family connecting with possessions of Roger's, feeling close to him through his things. But in these visits, I didn't focus on those things. I was fully focused on Roger and him still being present. And during that week, signs continued to show up on my phone as well. The song, quote unquote, Soul, which I'd never even heard before, but certainly contained very specific messages for me, popped up on my phone. Then a few days later, the song Cover Me Up. Again, I'd never heard this song before, but it popped up on my phone screen. It's a gorgeous country love song. Not only were the lyrics to both songs so relevant and so us, but the music and the connection to music was very big for us. When we first started dating, we would just sit frequently in the car for hours and he would play music for me. We loved music. We shared music. We would give each other gifts of music. We frequently, for birthdays and Christmas, would give each other awesome concert tickets, floor seats, and sometimes it even involved a weekend getaway to go to a show. And obviously, music is a link to his release, his transition. So it's been beyond fitting that he has these amazing messages come through to me in the form of song. On November 10th, I was getting ready for bed and I was particularly sad. Sometimes the evening would be the biggest emotional struggle for me, and the quiet I felt even more alone. This was often the time I would be most likely to break down and cry intensely. I would frequently meditate and look at one of my favorite photos of us before going to bed. I had done this and turned my phone on silent and plugged it into the charger. As I was about getting ready to bed, I noticed my phone screen light up, which was odd because it was on Do Not Disturb. I went and looked, and an article popped up on my phone about the meaning of 1111 and angel numbers, as well as the meaning of a twin flame, which I'd never heard before. The following morning, my Akashic coach told me that while she was consulting with the guides preparing for my session, she was told that Roger and I were twin flames / Siamese souls. Essentially, we have one soul split into two flames, which was part of our bond and why it's so tight. He had sent me the sign the night before, and now she was confirming it. This confirmation was given to me on the date 11/11. Ask and you shall receive. The Enduring and Everlasting, a personal story of love transforming deep grief. My book is a guide to help others who are experiencing grief. The book shares an intimate look into my life and experiences, including the beautiful signs and communication system I've built with my husband, who passed in 2020. I was called to channel these experiences as a guide, allowing readers to know us, our experiences in the physical world, our experiences once my husband Roger went to the spirit realm, and then most importantly, to provide tools and guidance for others for their healing journey.
Thanks for listening to Enduring Love, written and performed by Lindsay Stanton. Lindsay is a certified grief coach, trained in somatic therapy, a Reiki master, and intuitive. Lindsay can be reached on Instagram at The Healing Grief Guide and through her website, thesoulrevival.com. For more of these transcendental tales and metaphysical mysteries, please join the Life is a Trip group on Facebook and check out Brownell's story entitled The End, A Love Story to the Universe, and her We Meet Again trilogy, an epic reincarnation mystery about a famous couple reunited to fulfill a prophecy that will change the world.